Free the Bonnie Pruden Way. I'm Enid Whitaker and I'm joined by Sandy Dirks. Bonnie Pruden was a pioneer in the field of physical fitness and body work, specifically Bonnie Pruden myotherapy, which is a way to get rid of muscle-related pain, such as headaches and back pain. Both Sandy and I had the fun and privilege of working with and being mentored by Bonnie Pruden for many, many, many years. Our goal during these monthly programs is to share with you Bonnie's philosophy, programs of exercise, and myotherapy so that you too can live fit and pain-free. Join us as we begin each program with a few tension-relieving exercises.
In our last program, we talked about the Kraus-Weber test, its history, how to perform it, and how Bonnie Pruden used it. Today, we're going to be talking about the correctives, which means if you failed the test, what can you do to make it so that your muscles are both strong and flexible? First, though, we'd like to do a little recap of our last program. Enid?
The Kraus-Weber test is a test for minimum muscular fitness of key posture muscles. And those are the muscles that you use to carry you around all day. Those are the abdominals, the psoas, which is developed by running, hopping, skipping, jumping, the upper back, the lower back, and then back and hamstring flexibility. And those key posture muscles are important for carrying you around through your daily life and to keep you fit and pain-free. There aren't any norms because what you're doing is you're testing against your own weight and your own strength of your own body. So you're testing the muscles that you're using all day long. And the test is self-correlating. The photos that you're looking at are of Bonnie when she was about 43, and she's testing a girl at the Institute for Physical Fitness in White Plains, New York. In 1985, Bonnie did a program of 85 minutes long called Fit and Pain-Free the Bonnie Pruden Way. And in it, she shows the Kraus-Weber test as well as the correctives. So in a minute, we're going to show that segment to you so you can see it in action and follow along with it. Part of the parts of the KW test or the Kraus-Weber test that are the most important, which you mentioned before in our last program, are the abdominals and the flexibility, back and hamstring flexibility. And they're very important because if you cannot pass them, they indicate that you probably are going to have back pain or you already have it already. So when you're watching the parts that we're showing you, please notice those particular parts and also notice the corrective exercise for the abdominals, because the corrective exercise for the abdominals is to roll down from a sitting position very slowly. And as you're rolling down, you're strengthening as well as lengthening the abdominal muscles. And that going down slowly is the key to strengthening those muscles more quickly. The other part of the Kraus-Weber test that I particularly want you to notice is that when the corrective for the back and hamstring flexibility is done, we use what's called ballistic. And ballistic is a pulsing movement that encourages the muscles to let go, as opposed to the static, which is holding position, in which actually the muscles kind of fight themselves. So we're using ballistic stretch to encourage the muscles to let go when we're doing the correctives for the flexibility for back and hamstrings. So when this segment is over, we'll be back for further discussion and tips for addressing your key posture muscles.
Okay, on with the video.
Hi, now we come to the test. Let me tell you something about this test before we begin. It's for you. It isn't just for people like this. It's for you. It goes for a baby this big or an 80-year-old. Now, what it told us was this. When we went to Austria, we found that the adults had back pain at 10%. We found that the children failed at 9.5%. In America, the children failed at 58%, and 60% of the adults had back pain. Today, 85% of the children coming into school fail, and the doctors tell us that 85% of the adults have back pain. Now, if you want to avoid it, you'd better be able to pass this test. We're going to start with my friend Lori Drummond here. She is the head of the myotherapy department in the school, and Bryce Leonard is a graduate of the Bonnie Pruden School, and this is you. All this day, this is you. This is Zone Man, and he's all hung together as you are. And if you have bad feet, you can cause a headache. If you have, your fingers are all curled up, they're out here, the problem may be in the axilla here. If you have back pain, it can give you groin pain, and vice versa. So you're all hung together, and you might as well know that if you fail these tests, something else will pay for it. Now, the first test is the abdominal test, and we have two abdominal tests. We call one abdominals plus, which means that it works with a muscle inside called the hip flexor, and you stretch out long to do this and have somebody hold your feet down. Your hands go behind your neck. Now, you're just going to sit up once, and I don't care if you come up with your head on backwards. Now, that's a pass. That's fine. Now, she's going to do it wrong now, only to show you how it can be done. She still passes, but it just shows you something. Okay, there she's stiff. That means that some muscles in the abdominals are not working, and others are substituting. Another way you can do it badly is come up with one elbow leading. That means that muscles over here are in spasm, and this could lead eventually to a scoliosis, which is a curvature of the spine. Now, we've done the test well, and we've done it badly. The next test, we knock out these powerful hip flexors that the legs were involved with. Now, this is like a rubber band. It doesn't work. Now you have a true abdominal test. And if you want to get rid of your tummy, this is what you do. You sit up once. Now, she passed the test. Not very difficult. Or if she'd done any of those other things, she could have done it badly and told you something. But supposing she flunked. Now, let's say you can't do it. Just get up any old way, Lori. Now, how would you roll down? With one button of the spine at a time, as best you can. About here, you'll go flop, probably, for the first couple of times. Now, after the first week, you're going to swing yourself up like that and go down across your chest. Really slowly. The third week, you come up just that way, and you go down the hard way with your hands behind your neck. By this time, you'll be able to do it. Now, you do 5 of those morning and night, and you'll find a very interesting thing happens. You get thinner, you get stronger, you get better looking. If you happen to do it every time you go in the bathroom, it's faster. All right, the next test would be the psoas test. This is the hip flexor. It ties to your spine. Here's where it ties. Raise your legs to here, Lori, and you hold that for 10 seconds. Now, a lot of our American kids, well, they'd hold it for 5 and then flop. All right? Now, supposing she hasn't the strength to hold it up, look what she has to do it. She arches, and she tightens, and she substitutes. Now she can get a good backache out of that. But that's only because she wasn't strong enough. Now, how do you get strong enough? Put your knees right like that. And that's very comfortable. Her spine is right on the floor. And then she raises her legs up like that. That's not hard. Now, come down a little bit, Lori. That's harder. And go in. Now, this time, it's going to be too hard, and watch what happens to her back. Up it comes. Whoops, she went too far. So then you go back to where you can do it, and you do 5, night and morning. And pretty soon you'll find yourself going lower and lower and very low, and then your whole body will change. All right, now let's look over here at your upper and lower back. Very few people fail this unless there's some kind of pathology. All right, Bryce, I'm going to hold your legs down and you come on up. You hold that for 10 seconds. You don't have to be that good. You can even be less good, just so long as your chest clears the table. All right, now, Bryce, go down. Supposing you had tight pectorals, which a lot of people have, how would you look if you came up? See where his arms are now? Open them wide so they show that's how they should go. This is how many are. And that means go down again, slow. There. Now you have tight pectorals. That has to be changed. Trigger points are in here causing that. Okay, go down. Now, when you do the corrective for that, just stretch your arms out and raise first one arm up and then down, and the other later you could carry weight bags. Now, if you were going to do that wrong, he'd twist. Now, that's easy, but it's not right. So do it right. Straight and down, even if you only come an inch off of the floor. Now, the next test is a test for the low back, and this looks harder. This looks pretty bad, and it is pretty bad. It's pretty hard. You get this muscles in here. And you hold that again 10 seconds. Now, put your legs down, Bryce. Some people do it wrong. Watch how this works. One leg will come up higher, and that indicates that there's a pull someplace in the lower back. What does that indicate? Trigger points. All right, now do the corrective for that, Bryce. Up and down and up and down. And you do several of those every day, and gradually you'll build power here. Now, the last test, when you get over here, is the test, and the only one for flexibility. All the others have been for strength. And just go down and barely touch the floor. That's all you have to do is pass that. But you'd be amazed at and now, how do they sneak it? Watch those knees. They're hiding like this in the pants. So if you're testing somebody, get your hand right on the knee so that you know that they're doing it right. All right, now you have to correct this. So put your hands behind your back and lean forward. Now, what we do is what's called ballistic stretch, which is like this, with a rhythm, and we kind of sneak up on the muscle, and it doesn't know what's happening to it, and it gets a little lower, and a little lower, and a little lower. Gradually, you can go further and further and further and further, and that's how you get that kind of stretch. There are other things that you can find out when you do this test, and it only takes seconds. And one of the things is whether the person has a curvature or a scoliosis. It has two names, but it's where the spine will do things like this. Now, you have the child stand like this, and then you look over the shoulders and you see, the back is perfectly straight. There's nothing the matter there. All the way down. Now, if you have somebody who's got one started, and it's good to find out early, you'll see this. One side will come up, then it'll flatten out again. And now you know that you have somebody with that, with some trigger points that are pulling on the spine. See, the spine is like a nice little cemetery. Has all the little tombstones in a row. Now, if it's going to go out, it doesn't go out by itself. Something over here, a vandal, has to pull it out. Now, if you take the trigger points out of here, it goes right back in. Now, if you're 30 years old or 20 years old and you're already set, we can't change your spine, but we can take away all the pain. Now, supposing you have a round back. Make your back round, Lord, be miserable. Then your head comes up, then you get pain in here. Now, if you want to find out how bad that is, it's sometimes called a round back, but if at its bad, it's called kyphosis. You stand up against a wall. Now, raise one arm, Lori, and if it won't go back any further, now you know the trigger points are here in the pecs and here in the axilla. You take those out, and then you stretch that like that. She can probably swing it all the way around, but that's how you go. And you've got to start to watch your kids and your grandkids, because if they're pigeon-toed like this at 3, be pigeon-toed at 3. That looks pretty good, but it looks terrible when you're 40. Please remember that this test is for you. This is the minimum. Don't try to do anything until you can pass it. Once you can pass it, you're on your way.
I want to say something about stress, to say that children are not immune from stress. I remember testing in New Hampshire, a group of elementary school kids, and my best leader was in the 6th grade, and I tested him at the beginning of the year, and he was fine. He tested positive for all the tests. At the end of the year, he couldn't touch the floor. He was 6 inches from the floor. I called him back and I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, what's going on? And he said, my parents are getting divorced. So it's not too young to start with your kids about where their muscles are and what their muscles are and how to use their muscles. So if you're working together as a family for this test and the correctives, one of the things that I used to do with the little kids, like 3 to 5 year olds, was I would have balloons. And if you rub them, they'll stay on you. So I would say, where are your abdominals? And they'd rub the balloon and he'd stick it on their abdominals. Where is your psoas? Rub the balloon and stick it on the psoas. So it's not too early ever to start your kids knowing some things that they should know about the body, because unless you teach them, nobody else is going to. As a family, if you can set aside maybe 10 or 15 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week, to go over the correctives as a family, and even put some music on and make a little routine out of the correctives. Even if you pass the test, you should always still do the correctives, because if you barely can pass a test and you have the flu or a cold or something and you're in bed for a few days, you may not pass a test after that. It doesn't take long if you're on borderline not to be able to pass it. So the smart thing to do, the wise thing to do, is do your correctives every single day, once or twice. It only takes a few minutes. If you pass the Kraus-Weber test and you're really good at it, you should keep doing the correctives. And one thing that you can do is add weight. Now we have weight bags. You can hold them in your hand. These happen to be 2-pounders. You can put them on your ankles and hold them in your hands when you're doing the correctives for the upper back and for the abdominals. And then for the lower back, you can put them hanging on your ankles. They also have these that have the Velcro on them, so you can wrap those around your ankles or hold them in your hands. So just because you passed it, that's minimum. So make sure you get even better at it. Also, the Kraus-Weber test and the correctives are in all of Bonnie's books, except for Teach Your Baby, Your Baby Can Swim. So if you're a family and working with this, you can use, if you have really young children, you can use How to Keep Your Child Fit from Birth to 6. And if your children are over that age, then you can use How to Keep Your Family Fit and Healthy. If you're working alone, then you can use Bonnie's other books, Pain Erasure, the Bonnie Pruden Way, or the Myotherapy book, or the After 50 book. All those books have the Kraus-Weber test in, the correctives, and how to do more than the minimum.
And all of those books can be found at the website, Bonnie Pruden, BONNIEPRUDDEN.com.
I want to say one more thing about flexibility. If you have 2 people and they're going to have a race, and one can touch the floor and one can't, say they're 6 inches from the floor, the person that is touching the floor is going to win the race, because their stride is going to be 6 inches longer. So the flexibility of the back and hamstrings, particularly the hamstrings, affects not only the back pain, but your gait, your stride, and who wins the race. And don't you want to win the race?
You bet. Okay, thank you, Enid. Anything else you want to say about the Kraus-Weber test or the Kraus-Weber correctives?
I think that's it.
Okay,
Until next time.
Enid, what's our exercise of the month?
Knee bends. And there are several ways that you can do the knee bend depending on what you're able to do. You can start feet flat on the floor and just do half knee bends, gentle half knee bends and up, and gentle knee bends and up. Or you can stand with your feet together and do deep knee bends with your arms out in front for balance. You can either do it with your heels off the floor or with flat feet. And if you need to, you can hold on to a chair if it helps. And the other way you can do it is open a door and hold on to the doorknobs on each side as if you were going water skiing, and do your knee bends that way. So you're holding on to the doorknobs, but doing your full knee bends and coming up. And choose a door in your house where you go through all the time, and every once in a while stop and do a couple of deep knee bends. The reason for doing knee bends is our knees were made to go through full range of motion. Knee bends keep your legs nice and strong, but also because we sit so much now or stand at our desks still, or if you're pregnant, or if you have varicose veins, the blood pools in your ankles, so you're getting your ankles will start to swell. So the legs are an auxiliary pump for the heart. So if you will stop every once in a while and do deep knee bends, you're going to help pump the blood back up to the heart. And so not only will your legs be happy, your heart will be happy.